Hey guys, Idris here from Just Another Night. So today I figured I'd mix it up a little. I'm going to talk about 5 of my favourite animes and why I recommend them to you guys. But before we jump into it, please be sure to comment, like and subscribe. It really does help us out and it lets us know if we're on the right path or not. So without further ado, let's get into it. So Sword Art Online came out, I think it was around 2002. It's a great anime. It follows the story of a guy called Kirito, or his real name is Kazuya or Kazuto Kirigaya. But essentially he goes by the name of Kirito because that's his player tag. What happens is there's a new sort of device which is basically a VR headset. And a lot of people delve into this world called Sword Art Online. And as they're in this game, they realise it's actually a trap by the man who's developed it. And so in order to get out of it, they need to complete the game. And as you go through, if you were to die in the game, you'd die in real life because the nerve gear would send electrical shock to their head. And it would damage their brain cells. It was actually a really good anime. It still is a good anime. There's been many sort of prequels to it, sequels. It's a great one to watch because you follow the story of Kirito as he goes through this world and you sort of see him develop his personality, you see him develop his skills, as well as his relationships with other people. And it does start off quite rocky, like he ends up losing an entire clan, which is quite a harsh scene, but it happens. And it's the introduction of sort of reality versus virtual reality. So towards the end of it, when a lot of these players are able to escape from this world, that's something they question quite a lot, whether or not that virtual reality was more beneficial to them than reality itself. And it does pose a lot of philosophical questions throughout the anime. The current series that it's on is Alicization. And they've definitely upscaled the fight scenes. It looks absolutely spectacular, and that was something Sword Art Online's always been great at. It's always had very impressive fight scenes, especially considering Kirito is the only one who's able to dual wield, and it just sort of adds that special sort of unique thing to the anime itself. It's definitely a great one to watch. I definitely recommend it to anyone. I would say it's appropriate for all ages. It's definitely entertaining, and a lot happens in it. Both a lot of action as well as, you know, sort of slice of life kind of stuff. So yeah, if you ever have time, go check that one out. So God of High School is the next one on my list. This is a more recent one. It was actually a Korean webtoon that was then backed by Crunchyroll and they've turned it into an anime. But it's a really good looking anime. Like, there's a lot of fight scenes in it which look spectacular. The story essentially follows a lad called Jin Mori who has entered a tournament called God of High School, which is basically a martial arts tournament where various schools from different cities in Korea take their best students and they pit them against each other to see who is the best martial artist of these high school students. The great thing about the story, it's not very straightforward. You learn that the tournament itself is actually a front, and what it is, various people are able to manifest abilities from various deities that allows them to fight harder, gives them crazy abilities, and it leads to some insane scenes. And basically this organisation are trying to find what's known as the key, and this key unlocks this deity which plans on destroying the world or starting it from new. It's a really great, interesting anime, one I've enjoyed so far as well. So the next one on my list is probably more for older teenagers and adults, and that is Hellsing, but more specifically Hellsing Ultimate. So Hellsing, I believe, came out around 1999 perhaps, not sure the exact date, but later on they sort of cut it down as 10 episodes and they titled it Hellsing Ultimate. Of the two, I would recommend watching Hellsing Ultimate. It just looks a lot more pleasing, but nevertheless it does follow the same story, and that is of Alucard, the sort of demon king, otherwise known as Dracula. It follows him and his journey through fighting other vampires and working for this organisation that was set up by Van Helsing. And it's a really gory, dark, gritty story. Basically what's happened is the Nazis have returned and they've started using vampires and demons and a sort of form of zombies to go against the new world, I guess. Like I said, it's a really great story. It's really in depth, but there is so much blood and guts to it. There are some really messed up scenes, and that's probably what's entertaining about it. As I've mentioned before, I really love my gory sort of films and shows, so that's why this one appeals to me. But the story itself is really great. There's a lot of twists and turns, and you learn there's a mole amongst the ranks as well, which was quite good, and you didn't really see it coming. So if you have time, definitely recommend watching it. But like I said, if you've got to pick from one or the other, go for Hellsing Ultimate. It's a lot more pleasing to watch than watching the original Hellsing show. So this next one's veering away from the previous sort of genres of the others, so it's not supernatural or sci-fi by any means. It's quite a sort of down-to-earth, almost sort of true story like kind of anime. It will definitely be recommended more towards the older audience because I feel like they'd appreciate more. But the anime itself is called 91 Days. This is an anime that's set in Prohibition era USA, and it follows the story of a young guy called, I believe it was Alvillo or Alivillo. I'm not quite sure how to pronounce his name properly. But yeah, so you follow his story and him going after the mafias of, I think it's Illinois where they're based. And he goes against these two mafia families, and you quickly learn that as a kid his family was murdered by one of these, I think it's the Nero Velletti family. And so he starts to get his revenge, and he does this by infiltrating the family, making their prohibition business sort of boom before taking them all out one by one from the inside. It's a great story. Like, it's a very sort of crime thriller kind of story, which is why I feel like this is one that will appeal to the older audiences. They'll just be able to appreciate it a little bit more. I feel like younger audiences may not understand it as well, but those who have appreciation for history or those kind of prohibition era styles of shows, you'll definitely love this one. There's some great scenes in it, there's some great plot twists in it as well, and a lot does happen, but it's great because you see the development of his character, and how he sort of teeters on the edge of whether or not it's right what he's doing or whether it's wrong, and then you learn about the extent he's willing to go to as well, and how he plays the two families off against each other is really impressive. So I definitely recommend it, so go give that one a watch as well. And so the final one on my list for today is Moriarty The Patriot. Now, I'm a huge fan of Sherlock Holmes in general, both the original novels, the BBC adaptation of it, even the film starring Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock's always been one of the sort of great detectives, and has had some really incredible stories to go with it, no matter what sort of platform he's been put onto. And what I love about this show is that it's a bit of a twist and a bit of a change on things. Moriarty is probably perhaps one of my favourite villains when it comes to Sherlock Holmes, but never so much because of his ideals, but more so because of the lengths Moriarty goes to sort of get Sherlock Holmes off of his scent. Now, this anime kind of takes a sort of flip approach to this, and it actually follows Moriarty, and it kind of makes you sympathise with him a little. It's a really great anime. It follows Moriarty growing up as a kid, and how he becomes, well, who he's infamous for being, one of the greatest villains. And I love the fact that his sort of childhood's done in flashback, so you're not sort of dragged into a very deep story with a lot of waiting around to see what happens. You get to see like the present day occurrences while knowing what's led Moriarty to this path. But the thing I like about it the most is more so how it's it's a game of chess essentially. He's there planning his moves, working out what he needs to do next. And it's not a case of it's just Moriarty on his own, but he's got a team of people. And as you go through it, you learn why these people appreciate him, why they look up to him, and what his ideals are. And it definitely shows him in a new light. It's a very, very interesting anime. It's a very interesting twist as well. I don't think there's been many animes that have sort of focused more on a very popular villain as this one has. So it gives them grounds to do something new with it. And I really can't wait for Sherlock Holmes to turn up in it. I think I'm about 4 episodes into it now, as it's a really new anime, so they're slowly releasing each episode a week. But they have teased Sherlock Holmes in there, and I love how they look in the anime. It looks quite intriguing, and I can't wait to see how it turns out. This one, I would say, again, anyone who's an avid fan of Sherlock Holmes, anyone who was into the BBC adaptation, young adults, go give it a watch. I think it's a Funimation exclusive, so you'll probably only be able to see it there. You may need a subscription for it, but it's definitely worth it. Like I said, it makes you empathise with the character, and it definitely shows him a different light, so you start to rethink like his logic behind things, and you learn quickly that his reason is all he wants is equality for the world. And it's a new spin. Like, you don't really see that in any of the previous adaptations of Moriarty. They kind of make him out to be this big bad villain, especially in the BBC Sherlock series. But yeah, give it a watch, tell me what you think. So guys, that pretty much sums up the video for today. I appreciate you guys sticking around to the end to watch it. Just a few things to let you know, I have started streaming now, so please go check out the channel. I'll leave a link in the description below. I will be streaming Avengers. Kind of looking forward to be playing that. I've been putting it off for quite a while, but Curtis has been pushing me to start streaming myself, so I figured, hey, why the hell not? Curtis will also be back to streaming soon. Things are a bit up in the air at the moment, so while we're both trying to figure out a schedule of streaming videos and podcasts, things are a bit all over the place, but we'll get there. But thanks again for watching, everyone. Please be sure to comment, like and subscribe. We really do appreciate it. Every little bit helps, and it lets us know we're on the right path, what we're doing great, not so great, and what kind of content you guys want to see. So let us know down below. But in the meantime, make sure to stay safe, have fun, bye.